I've been walking beneath streetlights. I've been walking, cause I can't find peace on these nights. I've been walking, but my strides are getting slower. Still I'm walking, but I don't know where I'm going. I've been looking for love, but only found deception. Told my secrets to some people who have not kept them. I don't want money. I don't want cars. I don't want money. I don't want cars. You are, the time the best is too fast. The truth wrapped up in excuses. You are the weeds that pull their group back. The strings upon my heart, but you know that. Cause you pull them, yes, you pull them till they cry out.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and thanks again for joining me. Welcome back to Sisters Against Kidney Disease. I am your host, Audrey Langston, and I really want to thank and welcome my regular guests, but I also want to welcome all of those that are new to the show. And I want to start off by asking you to do something wonderful, like share this show to your page, guys. We are really out here. Myself, Steve Belcher of Urban Health Media Outreach, Jared Brown of Warriors Quest, good old Uncle Jim Myers, as well as my girl Lisa Baxter. We all are interlinked together with these shows, trying to get the word out here about kidney disease. So please hit a like, hit share as we have our guest out later. Please comment. Ask questions. Again, there is no such thing as a silly question, right? Everything is welcome. We're going to continue to keep hammering in the importance of getting the word out about kidney disease, guys, as well as we're going to even venture here on Sisters Against Kidney Disease with a few other transplant resources that show you how other illnesses can downward spiral into needing a kidney, as well as possibly needing a double transplant. We will see some of that as well, and they're all touching stories. So I just want to start out by saying I hope everyone is doing well in the midst of this crazy world, pandemic, pandemonium. We're getting hit left and right, yeah, but God is good all the time, and we will get through this. It's very hot here in Florida where I am, as well as so many other places. When I talk to my family back home, my son in St. Louis, my godsons are in Atlanta, it's very hot there. So I just want to implore my kidney recipients, as well as other transplant recipients, and my diabetes family to please make sure you are staying hydrated, guys. This is critical for us during this time of year, because so quickly we can become dehydrated. And a lot of it has to do with our immunosuppressant medication. So it's really important. And I don't mean hydrate with soda pop. I don't mean hydrate with alcoholic beverages. I mean drink that good old thing that God gave us plenty of, that H2O. All right. So yeah, please do that. And again, open up your page and bless us by sharing this post so we can try to reach more people and get this word out here. So I am just really super hyped about my guests tonight, right? They are so wonderful, and I can't wait for them to share their story with you. But their story kind of starts out in sickness and in health. Till death do us part is just a little excerpt of those wonderful words that we make a solemn promise to do when we walk down that aisle to eternal covenant with someone, that special person who we say we love, that person who we say we want to spend the rest of our lives with. Well, my guests tonight, Rodney and Syrita Ford, made that vow 36 years ago. Yes. Okay. Now that's some serious couple goals for you right there. Now, it's not to say it was all blissful, but oh my Lord, that is amazing. And their story during this time is even more amazing during the time of their marriage. But they meant every word of it. And I believe that because I also know them personally. So we're going to find out, you're going to find out, I already know what I mean, but first let me share a little bit about them. They both reside here in Florida. They have 2 adult children, 2 beautiful grandchildren. Syrita worked for the Ford Credit Company for 30 years. 30 years, let me put those fingers down, 30 years. And Rodney worked as a bank examiner for guess what? 30 years. You see how they say when you're with somebody a long time, you start to not only look alike, you mimic each other in your goals. That's why I say straight couple goals. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am really excited on them being here. So without further ado, I would like to bring on Syrita and Rodney Ford. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining me. I know we haven't seen each other since Tampa General when we were having our support groups meeting. So I am just so grateful that you guys took some time out of your very busy day because I know you keep the grandbaby and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so thank you so much for joining. How have you been, both of you?
I'm good.
I'm good also.
Guys, so Brother Rodney, the last time I saw him, he wasn't working this awesome Moses beard like he got right now. I told him he's looking like Moses up in here. I love it.
That's
So
right.
I want to start off by asking you guys to just, this is your story and it's a great one, to just please share how your journey with kidney disease began. Syrita?
Well, I really want to pass it to Rodney because he kind of started us off.
Okay.
So Rodney, you'll tell your life story.
All right.
Okay.
So I met Syrita at the University of Oklahoma. And during my last semester there, I donated blood during a blood drive. And soon after I graduated, they kept calling me asking about the need to donate blood. And so I became a regular blood donor. And did that for a couple of years and didn't think anything about it. And I was reading a newspaper article in USA Today, and it asked if you were a blood donor and if you'd like to ride across the country. Well, I applied and I was accepted. And over the next 11 years, I rode a bicycle across the country, across the United States, South Africa, Canada, and accumulated over 35,000 miles on a bicycle.
Wow.
And the point of those bicycle rides, I was with a group out of Florida. We lived in Oklahoma at the time. But this group out of Florida, Life South, was promoting bicycle riding to promote the 5 ways of donating life. And those were whole blood, apheresis blood, cord blood, bone and tissue, and organ donation. And so I rode the bicycle, and the typical day of riding the bicycle was, our first ride was 8 weeks long, and we averaged about 75 miles a day. and we were to promote these 5 points of life. And while there were about 10 bicyclists, I was the only African American, and each of us had some connection to those 5 points of life. At that time, mine was I was a whole blood donor, and I was an apheresis donor. Apheresis means I was giving the platelets out of my blood. Blood has 3 components, and so I was giving platelets, and I was receiving my red blood cells and my platelets back. So that was my claim to fame during those 7 bicycle rides. And so we would often speak about our connection to those 5 points, and I was giving my speeches. And I'll never forget being in Wisconsin one day after giving a speech, and one of the people came up to me and asked, well, what have you donated? And I felt kind of bad because at that time I was just a blood donor. I was signed up to be a marrow donor, but I hadn't been called. So that was a few years ago. So what I didn't know, and Syrita either, during those 11 years of bicycle riding, her kidneys were failing, and neither one of us knew that. So I became very educated during those bicycle rides because we would meet with medical people all the time. So I became very familiar with organ donors, recipients, and some of the medical personnel. So I felt very knowledgeable about being an organ donor when I die. And I was well prepared to do that and never thought I'd be a living kidney donor. So the last ride was done in 2008. And upon finishing that bicycle ride, Syrita, for the first time in our 26 years of marriage at that time, asked me to go to a doctor's appointment with her. And so I did. And upon that first visit, she was told she was in stage 4 renal failure. And
wow.
So we went through an education process. So we had to get our arms wrapped around it, and she'll tell you about that. And so ultimately, we were delayed during the process by insurance. Although we were both gainfully employed, me with the federal government, Syrita with Ford Motor Credit. So we were delayed a response. And because I had ridden the bicycle so many times and spoke so much about organ donation, I was really excited at the opportunity to maybe be a donor. So fast forwarding, when it became known that Syrita was going to need a kidney, I immediately signed up to be tested. I was the only one to get tested. I like to tell the story, who goes and buys one lottery ticket and hits? So despite having 2 children, and Syrita having a brother and living parents, I felt it was best for me to be the donor. So happened that I was approved to be a donor, and was excited as all get out to do that. And my training or my education in organ donation was so valuable to me. I wasn't intimidated about doing it. In fact, we didn't want our children to be involved. So I signed up to be a donor. I went through extensive testing to prove that I was healthy enough to donate a kidney. And so I did that. And I signed the paper that says, there's a 3% chance you might die. And I was okay with that. And so that was that. So then I'll let you, Syrita, start talking about your process.
So let me just jump in, Syrita, before you piggyback on what he said.
All
First
right.
of all, that's amazing. I mean, as you said, Rodney, the great thing is when you have knowledge. I'm constantly talking about on my show, and when I do speaking engagements, how critical it is for people to be proactive, not only in their health, but in learning about what they've been diagnosed with. Yeah. Because people tend to put all of their trust and faith in the doctor. And it's not to say that we should not have faith in our doctors. It's not to say that we should not trust them. However, I still believe that we are our own best advocate, right? Yep. And so I know that based on that, just like my godson who gave me a kidney, he worked part-time at the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. So it was a no-brainer for him as well, because he knew everything there was to know about organ donation and was totally comfortable with it. But I do want to say also, not to mention, brother, you must have been in great physical shape even to be riding 35,000 miles.
Well, that proved very helpful in our transplant. So basically, the process is, it was a 3-day physical test, and they give you the equivalent of what women experience in menopause. One of the first tests that I had to take, they told me you're going to take this and you're going to have heat flashes. And I was like, oh, and I'm telling you, it worked. And so at the end of the day, so I had this test that you swallow this stuff and they do that. I had to wear a heart rate monitor for 48 hours. They wanted to measure your heart rate when you're sleeping, when you're awake. I had to go through a battery of psychological tests. And ultimately, yes, I was very healthy. And as a result of that, I was able to pick the date of our donation. As I understand it, people are oftentimes delayed by needing to lose weight, by needing to get their blood pressure down, or any number of, but I was clear. And so, yes, I think the bicycling proved helpful to me as well. And
without a doubt.
Yeah, so my recovery, and we'll talk about that later, was probably a little better than normal also. But yeah, it was a blessing to get to go first on that day. I always tell this story, and it's like, what a nice story, but it's even better when you're living.
Right.
Yeah. So Syrita, he got to experience hot flashes. He got to see what it feels like when you went through. Okay. Yeah. So sis, tell me about share your side. Yeah. And from the time of diet, when just all that great stuff that that you were sharing with me before when we were talking one-on-one.
Right. Well, first, I would like to tell your audience, we give all praise to God, first of all.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Lord.
Our lives, as you can tell, first of all, making it 36 years of marriage, you better have God in your life. And then secondly, I would like to share with your audience before I tell my personal story, always know your blood type. It's amazing how many people do not know their blood type. And I believe that information can be found on a birth certificate. If you are a blood donor, the blood centers can give you that information. That is very, very important. And with that being said, that's the way my journey began, after supporting Rodney on his rides and raising 2 kids almost by myself for those 11 years. I just did what I had to do. And even at work, just so that I was involved in the education of helping people, if you will, I was the coordinator at Ford Credit for blood donations. I would set up the donations, and they would come every so often to our office to take donations. And with that being said, when I would donate personally, each time they'd say, your blood pressure is a bit high, you really need to go to your primary doctor and get that checked out. So I did. And as I did that probably 3 times in a row. And finally, my primary doctor told me, he said, your creatinine is really, really too high. I need you to go to a nephrologist. And I thought, well, all right, I'll go. But I was never sick. I never fell out. I had no symptoms. And we hear this word frequently in the news media these days, asymptomatic with this COVID. which
Right.
means that you may not appear sick, you may not show symptoms of being sick, but you are sick. And I have to give a shout out to our friend John Green. He is in the medical field. He's one of Rodney's friends from college. And one day he was talking with me and he used that word. He said, well, it sounds like you're asymptomatic. And when he said that, it all clicked in my head. And I thought, I better follow through with these checkups. I better do what they say. In addition to that, when I did go to the nephrologist, Dr. Balsera, Christina Balsera, I love her to this day. She told me, because I was fighting her. I was like, I'm not sick. Why should I dialyze? And I do not feel sick. And, but my illness showed up on my reports. All of my creatinine was high. My blood pressure was high. I guess, plus I was, like Rodney said, I was at stage 4 kidney disease. And I'd never heard of that. I was just a regular person living a regular life. And so because, like Rodney said, he had done all these rides, we have friends who are doctors. We know people who've had transplants. So we did our research, we checked it out, and sure enough, I was #1 candidate. So I told my doctor, I said, well, if you'll let me go home, which is in Oklahoma, and we do live in Florida, I'll come back and I'll do everything you tell me to do. And that's exactly what I did, which of course resulted in needing a transplant. I did dialyze for 9 months. And then finally the insurance came through, Rodney's test came through, everything hooked up. And I'm going to have to plug in right now. It's nothing but the grace of God. And when you watch God work, it is amazing. And so,
Syrita, tell them about the type of dialysis you were doing and how frequent.
Yes,
okay.
please.
Yes,
I did
peritoneal dialysis, which meant that I was able to dialyze through the night. And then in the morning, I would unplug, clean my wound and go to work. And really, no one even at work probably knew that I was a kidney patient, because all of my medical procedures were in the evening or at nighttime. And so we did that for 9 months, and then the transplant came available to us. And thank God we've survived this far. It's been 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Again, probably for the 50th time.
To her procedures. I think it's important, Bella, if you would let me just say, the peritoneal dialysis that Syrita did every night was 8 hours. And so basically, we would have to leave dinner parties and all types of things in order to get back, so that she, because everything you needed to do, you had to back up 8 hours. So if you needed to get up at 7 o'clock, you needed to back up so that you could start the process 8 hours before that. And so it was a daily deal versus the persons that would go 3 times a week to dialysis. So this was every day. They shipped supplies to our house. And we had, I guess, a social worker who came out to prove that we were hygiene clean enough to do this. There's so much hygiene. I'll tell you this, there's one thing about this COVID that is not giving Syrita and I a problem, and that's washing hands. I thought I knew how to wash hands, but during the process of dialysis every night and every day, oh my God.
Okay. You guys are, and that's what I joke with my friends about. I'm like, and they know that this is nothing to me. This was maybe just a little bit more, pump up the volume, just a little bit more, but my volume is pumped with that all the time. And Syrita, I don't know if you and I had ever really gotten a chance to delve into the fact that I totally understand what you're talking about in relation to PD, because that's what I did. I did the night cycler, and I did about 2 hours more than you. I did 10 hours a night. I had to be on that machine by 8 p.m.
Right.
Like you said, Rodney, no matter what. you know, and it doesn't shut off until it shuts off, because you have to be careful. For those of you in the audience that aren't aware, if you get an infection in that tube, that peritoneum, it can take you out. And so they are very, very strict about the protocol. And no, my daughter couldn't come in my bedroom unmasked without a mask on. Nobody could come in my room when I'm connected. So, but now I want to go back a little bit to your lack of symptoms. And I know you said you were not feeling sick at all, so you weren't experiencing any unusual or more so frequent urination.
No.
You weren't experiencing any kind of lethargy or nothing. I mean, you were just how you felt, just how you always felt.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what you said. And
but
so,
Bella,
go ahead.
To tell your audience, and especially for African American people, I think that's what catches a lot of us up. It almost did for me, because I didn't want to believe it. I thought, I'm fine. I don't want to, do any needles or anything extra. I'm fine. That's what I kept saying. I'm fine. And I was not fine.
Well, and the thing of it is, our doctor told us Syrita's condition was kind of like, it had come on over time, over all these years that neither of us knew. And so the doctor said, well, the reason that you're not feeling, your body has gotten used to it. And so she used the analogy of going to visit a elderly relative in a nursing home. And you go to the nursing home and you say, grandmother, why is it so dark in here? It's not dark in here. And then, yes, it is. And so Syrita her body was used to whatever. She was one of the few, she never missed work. As I understand it, the majority of people aren't able to go to school or go to work.
Definitely.
Syrita was able to go to work. In fact, it's amazing to me. There were a couple of her coworkers who didn't even know she was sick till after she had the transplant.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the really that's the really interesting part as well too, because, and it just goes to show you those terms that we have for illnesses such as high blood pressure. What do we call it? The silent killer. Because oftentimes we have it and we don't even know it, because we don't miss a beat as far as either how we're feeling or our activities. And the thing I look at too, in relation to that higher level of creatinine, we have two kidneys. And so they're both in excellent shape when they're in excellent shape, doing everything that they are supposed to do. So little things that may come up that may have actually come up and it was so minute that you probably didn't even really pay much attention to it. I know that's what I said about myself, because I wasn't sick either. But the difference in your situation and mine was how I found out that one day I just got super sick out of nowhere, didn't know what was going on, didn't know why. And when it hit like a ton of bricks. I went blind because my blood pressure shot up so high. I just couldn't stop going to the bathroom. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like for a very long period of time, I had no symptoms, even though, as you were, I was diagnosed by the doctor, something's not right. Your creatinine is really high. We need to get you to a nephrologist, to see what's going on, and you're like thinking, like you said, weren't you thinking, like you said, ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm good. I don't need what?
I must have said I'm fine 1,000 times. I'm fine.
Yeah. So when you were diagnosed and you did go to the nephrologist, was your disease actually, because most of them do have a name, what exactly did they classify you as?
I'm really not understanding what you're asking me.
Okay.
I do know I was at a stage 4 of the disease, which is, I think like in cancer terms, you have different stages. When they checked my kidneys to see why I had it or what caused it, they were so burned up they couldn't tell. They had it said it's like a force of broccoli, and all of mine had been burnt off. They couldn't tell.
They disintegrated. They had disintegrated. It sounds like.
So
okay.
What we found out, Bella, was her kidneys by stage 4. She, at that doctor's appointment, that very time, she was eligible to go on dialysis. That's what stage 4 meant. I mean,
exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so really it took about 3 months of the doctors wrangling with Syrita before she actually started dialysis. But
oh my gosh.
But Syrita's condition warranted dialysis at that first doctor's visit.
Yeah.
But because she was asymptomatic, it took about 3 months of cajoling.
Right. And it did. But that's what I want your audience to know and to share with others if you've gone through something, because, you can save a life. I mean, just like me, every year I'm like, thank you, God, for another year, even with the transplanted kidney. But, you can help somebody maybe not to go through as much pain or as much trauma if they can catch it early, get it taken care of. So I'm just, our journey, again, to me, seems like it was given to us by God to help somebody else.
Absolutely. I said the same. I know that as a fact, even from my life, Syrita. I couldn't agree with you guys more on that. So now, from the point to which you had to go on dialysis for that 9 months, did you guys already know, or Rodney, did you already know that you were a viable donor at that point? Because I'm just trying to figure out why she had to be on dialysis for so long instead of actually avoiding it, which is what I was trying to do and would have done had my last donor not backed out before my godson stepped up. I was trying not to have to go on dialysis, right?
Well, so I think to answer your question, so after those 3 months, Syrita got on dialysis. And during those early stages, they asked Syrita to list 5 persons who might be willing and a match. And this was early on in the process, and I did that. But because our insurance was held up for 9 months, which is just amazing. I mean, we did not know who could be, they wouldn't do any testing. So it wasn't until we were notified that the insurance went through that they did any of the testing, period. So
I see.
As soon as they gave us the information that says, okay, you're approved to get on the kidney list, whatever, that's when they did the testing on me.
Also, I think again, that was almost 10, 13 years ago. But I believe because my kidneys were in such bad shape, the dialysis process was going to help my body prepare for transplant. For sure. I wasn't even in shape for transplant initially.
When he was saying that,
Dr. Balsera had me to dialyze.
Yeah. Some of those that totally makes sense, actually, because by the time you're at end stage, 4, there is so many toxins that are built up in your body that's probably exactly why, because they didn't want to risk going full force with the transplant. It might have intensified your rejection. Had they not, done that.
Dialysis makes you want to hurry up and get a transplant.
This is true. This is true. So true.
But Syrita, you have to tell the truth. I remember the night or 2 nights before the actual transplant, Syrita had gotten relatively comfortable with the dialysis process. I mean, to the point where like, oh, really? 2 days from now, we're going to be, so that just goes to show you how reluctant she was And then
tell me about that reluctance. I mean, I'm sorry, Rodney. I didn't mean to. I didn't know. I didn't know that. Why were you? That was actually going to be one of my questions. Did you guys, ever have any hesitations or concerns about anything? So you just stepped right into that, Rodney, with that question.
I never did, but Syrita, go ahead.
Yeah.
And I think I did because, dialysizing, you get, again, like I told you, I would get off of it at 6 or 7 in the morning, get dressed, go to work, take care of the kids, take care of home life, and then get back on it the next evening. And I think I had become accustomed to that in the 9 months. So I was still kind of like, before I knew I had kidney disease, I thought, well, I'm doing okay now. I'm dialyzing, cleaning me out. I'm good. Once again, I'm good. And kudos to Rodney too, because I guess God just, gave him special gifts, but he took care of all of my setup. All I had to do was screw it in and I was done. And so it wasn't a difficult process in dialysizing for me. So that probably put me in a comfort state where I was just like, maybe we can do this the rest of my life. Transplant is scary. It's major surgery. And I had not had a broken arm. I had not ever been sick. So I didn't really know what to expect with major surgery.
Yeah. And I would have to say, I suppose I got comfortable, like you're saying, but never to the point of saying, you know what, I'm good. I can roll with this for life, ride or die. Me and this tube. Right. I hated that tube. I felt so unattractive with that tube. Jokes were made. I just say, okay, just be like swinging it around. And, what can you do? You got to make the best of it. But also, I don't know about you, but like you said, I would disconnect, put my uniform on, and went to work every day. And so much like mimicking your story, Syrita, most people didn't know it until it appeared in the newspaper. Right. Because I didn't share it. I didn't want anybody treating me any differently. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And so I was like, but I knew that in order to maintain the type of career I had as a cop, I wasn't going to be able to do that for a long period of time because I was exhausted by the time I got home from work, and my daughter was basketball, volleyball, just kind of running her around and cooking. And so I was ready for that transplant when, everything was a go. And like you said, it was frightening. And that's what I was going to ask you guys, that part, like, because you were both, my kids still had, we weren't married, but they still had their dad, their father was still living, 2 sets of grandparents. So a lot of people to have their back, God forbid, if something had happened to me. And I remember praying, God, please just don't let, I want my kids to be okay. I want my godson, if I don't make it through this, please just let him make it through it. You know what I mean? And so it does make it's a lot of concerns there. So were you guys concerned about your children, their well-being, God forbid if, something had went wrong or whatever?
I'm going to say for me, it was almost like a Spike Lee movie, when he puts his character on the conveyor belt and they're just
and they're moving,
moving, not even on their own accord.
Yeah.
And that's what even to this day, it kind of feels like that for me. It just feels like I'm floating through life or something. I hope I'm not being, I don't know. It's a weird feeling. And I just feel like God was leading me the whole time. I don't even think I ever worried about the children or Rodney or even myself. It was just all in the process. And we had fought so hard on that insurance. It was like, we're going with this. And I will tell the audience, a lot of it is in your mind. If you're scared, that's not a good place to be. And I never
No,
felt
it's not.
scared. I was happy that Rodney had done all his journeys on the bike. I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to some of the places where he would stop and talk to the community. And even like bone marrow transplant, I had always thought a bone marrow was where they actually went in and cut your bone. That was in my head. That was the knowledge I had. But when I went to one of his, I don't know if you call them rallies or one of the educational stops that he made, I learned that bone marrow, they used a needle to go into your bone to pull that out. And so the point of that information is always, if you have something, even if it's just high blood pressure or diabetes, educate yourself, read about it, talk to people about it, listen to podcasts about it, learn, because really you cannot depend on the medical doctors 100%. They're in a hurry. They're trying to get your money. They just want to get you in and out. And so it's your body, it's your life. Take care of it.
Definitely. Yeah. So very, very, very true. Go ahead, Rodney. You wanted to say something?
I was going to say, as far as being scared or any of that, I really wasn't, again, for the background that I had. But one of the stories I enjoy telling now as a donor, one of the processes after being confirmed as a donor and all that, I wasn't aware of it, but they really give the donor an out if you were scared. And what I mean by that, they don't share the results with Syrita. Whether I was a confirmed donor or not just comes to me. And they do that because some people are scared. And so there could be two scenarios. There could be Rodney who wants to donate, but maybe I'm an alcoholic. And the wife said, well, I would like his kidney, but he drinks. And so, there's that out. Or they could have easily just said to Syrita, no, Rodney wasn't a match. And that would have saved face at Thanksgiving. Nobody would have looked at me crazy like, oh, Rodney was scared. So while I wasn't scared, I really enjoyed the fact that I could have had an out and nobody would have had to know that I was scared. So that avenue was there. But no, other than that paper that says there was about a 3% chance I could die, I felt pretty good about the whole process.
Yeah, I've shared that before too. When my very first show, in fact, I thought it was befitting to share my story on my show to kick it off. And so I had my son and my godson on the show because they were the central of my life at that time with having gone to right out of grammar school, high school, they were best friends, and your son's best friend gives you the kidney, right? But I remember saying, do you guys remember, I don't know if they did this, not with them. And I think they did say they went through those little logistics with them, how they will literally lie for the potential donor, because that's what I call it. Let's just call a spade a spade. They'll lie for you and say, oh yeah, they weren't a match. We're so sorry. Or, it's not really what we got to look for little things. And there was a little elevation here and we can't accept that. Right. And I get it. However, I was the type of person, I would just rather you be upfront with me and tell me the truth, no hard feelings, because that is a major thing to do for someone, not for you as a husband. I mean, it's maybe you're like, but that's your wife. We take vows when we're married for that reason. And or do I have rebuttal coming?
Yeah, but what you don't understand here, and I told Syrita this, out of the whole testing and the wearing the heart monitor and the peak flashes, the thing that really got to me the worst was this psychological test that they give you. And if she asked me once, she must ask me 600 times, are you getting paid to do this?
Wow.
And one, it was insulting. No, I wasn't. Somebody offered anybody.
Well, she said she was gonna do
Free
some
dinner.
things that maybe.
It's really amazing. Obviously, though, on the serious tip, I guess people sometimes are influenced by that potential, and that's why.
Yeah.
Even if there had been a best friend of ours that wanted to donate to Syrita, they would have waited 6 months before they would have done the transplant, because typically if a person is doing this for money, they need it right then. So they would make that, let's just say they were a church member, unrelated.
Mm-hmm.
They would typically wait about 6 months because that would prove that, that the person really had sincere interest in doing it. But fortunately for me, I didn't have to take the out, but the out was certainly there if I wanted to back out.
If you had,
and I had that option, but.
So, on that note, I would like to ask, because you guys are ride or die anyway in 36. Okay, that's just what it is, ride or die in 36 years of marriage. But what I wanted to ask is, do you guys feel that the whole transplant experience has made you even closer? Has it in any way changed, in other words, enhanced your marriage? Do you know how sometimes some people like to say, I wasn't liking this before and now I like this, like a particular food or whatever, but I'm just talking about the whole gamut here with regard to that question. Personal, maybe little, I like to ride my bike now too.
And I've tried a couple.
Yeah, I get going on that bike.
I think, it really has put us in a team position, because really out of us, you're getting a donor and a recipient. And most of the time you're just getting one or the other. Our family has played a huge role. They're very supportive of us. Of course, I can't even say I love Rodney more because he saved my life. I feel that I never want to be without him. And it was amazing to me. Again, I'm an APOS and he's an OPOS. And
those great O donors.
If you've got O blood, you are special.
Priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless.
And that's why I said in the beginning, know your blood type. But I just respect Rodney so much because, for 11 years, I saw him dedicated to this bike ride. I couldn't really understand why he want to leave the family for 6 or 7 weeks at a time to ride a bike. And then as it turned around, the Lord brought it right
set up from God. Yeah.
He needed all of that data he had obtained through those rides. And I will say a funny story, like he always says. He almost got killed one time on one of the rides because, the first time was, I want to do this. So I said, oh, well, okay, go ahead. Then it was time 2, and then it was time 3. And then I think by time 4, I had it. And and so I almost took the life that was going to save my life, but thank God I didn't.
Goodness.
So we are able to laugh about that to this day. But there were some hard times during those 11 years. I didn't understand why he needed to keep doing this, but at the same time, he was so good at it. He was a good writer. He was good with information for our African American communities that he was in. And the 5 Points of Life organization loved him. So sometimes in a marriage, you just, that's another good lesson. Just sometimes you have to respect the other's wishes, go with it. You never know what the bottom line purpose of it is. So
right. I think it's,
like I say, then as it turns out, it was for me.
Absolutely. It's in fact, I look at it even a little bit deeper. that's his gift. That's a gift to be able to be that diligent and persistent and dedicated, you know, and it's his passion, apparently. And in the interim of all of that, it was definitely God's design, because he knew he was going to use him to save you, and he knew all the tools that he was going to need to do that. And that distance riding and that with 5 Points organization was obviously a big part of that. And because it wasn't like, you know, because there are people who just do distance riding as groups. You know, this was totally a different thing. This is how he got educated on kid, you know, these type of illnesses, and he got endurance from it. So kudos to that's a major gift. That's a passion for sure. So Rodney, how about you?
Okay, so for me, I jokingly tell Syrita all the time, I gave her the kind kidney. And I remind her of that a lot of times when she may be short in her temper, that I gave her right. And so the other thing, as far as bringing us together, you know, I'm still seeking from her a lifetime hall pass, but that hasn't happened either. But no.
You mean for the riding? Is that what you're referencing to?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, don't ask. Don't ask.
You say that's for another segment, Assistance Against Kidney Disease.
No, but the beauty of all this, my mother and father-in-law stayed with us for a month because you know, we were both recovering at the same time.
Right.
So what's really unique about this story, again, like I say, it's a nice story, but it's way better to live it. First of all, you know, I get to see Syrita every day. So more than a doctor, you know, I know how she's feeling or not. So it's a blessing to one, be alive after donating a kidney, but to see my wife every day functioning. And we started dancing. Syrita didn't talk about that, but we were doing Chicago-style dancing for about 5 or 6 years. So that brought us close together.
Yeah.
And then, you know, at this point, like I say, this coming Thursday will be 539 weeks, 3,773 days. And what, you know, people say, why do you always remember those weeks and the days? Because it wasn't promised. And so we always think to ourselves, if we were going to write a book, if you had 3,773 days to live.
Wow. That's wow. That's intense. I love that. I love the sound of that. I don't know if we lost Rodney because he cut off. But girl, listen, you were obviously blessed with it was just with a wonderful husband. I mean, I'm sorry, Rodney, you can continue to make your point. You gapped out on us if you like.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, you know, as far as bringing us closer together, I would say definitely. And like I say, it's a blessing to be a donor and then to have been a caregiver during those 9 months. And then now to, you know, see Syrita in these years. You know, she's become a grandmother since then. She's married a daughter off since then. And so life is very good. And again, my in-laws, I think they like me better. So it's been a good thing. And if I could just tell one story, you know, the day before our surgery, I would say during the whole 9 months, we never argued, which I don't know how that happened. And so I really wasn't angry with Syrita, but as we were leading up to our date, I kept doing things, and I kept saying that I'm doing this for the last time with 2 kidneys because I'm about to donate one. And so the day before our surgery, my in-laws were already in town. We went and visited our doctor the day before visit, all that stuff. And I was washing my car by hand, and I have a sports car. And the weekend prior, Syrita got her hair done because she wanted her hair done before. So she took the lady home after getting her hair done. So I hadn't really noticed anything about the car since then. So I'm washing the car, and my pristine chrome wheels had a huge scrape on them.
Ooh. Ooh.
And the amazing thing was Syrita didn't have her cell phone with her while she was out with her parents, which was a good thing. But in the meantime, I went to the cleaners, and I was lamenting to this cleaner lady that I was so angry with my wife, whatever, about this. She said, "You can't be angry." And so, the beauty of it is when I finally got to talk to Syrita civilly, she gave a very good answer, and life went on, because the lady at the cleaner was like, "You can't be mad at your wife. You're giving her a kidney tomorrow." And I was like, "I'm very angry with my wife," but we got to talk, and so that was the one real instance we had throughout. But we look back on it now and laugh. Again, that was 10 years.
Wow.
And I'll say for Rodney, because he donated to me, he watches me very closely. Did you take your medicine? Bella, we take a lot of medicine.
Yeah.
Take your medicine. Have you been drinking water? So I have a built-in caregiver, if you will, 24/7, pretty much.
Wow. Yeah. He's taking, yeah. I mean, and that's a beautiful thing, because even though we're great, with our kidneys, like you said, you're, I believe, 10 years post now.
Yep.
I am coming up on 16. We still are, I call it special. I don't know about you, but most recipients, we feel run down. It's like I call it recharge. I have to, you stick a rechargeable battery or you let your phone charge up again. Sometimes I have to force myself. I'm single, so I have to force myself to slow down. But see, the Lord puts that on my heart when I need to do it, because I'm a mover and shaker. I'm just going to keep going and going. But sometimes that battery wears down really low. Yes. And we have to be careful about that, because we can get sick, from that. And so it's good that Rodney watches you in that way to, be like, "Hey, babe, okay," or God forbid when we get a cold, that wipes us out,
right?
So that's a blessing. I mean, it's all a blessing. And I really love the part about mom and dad liking you now, Rodney. I'm sure they really like you now.
The other thing that's really cool about this to me, that we were both in the hospital at the same time, and the recovery was going on at the same time. And because they took the kidney out of my left side and they put it in Syrita's right side, when we were laying in bed, we had to face each other because we couldn't lay on those opposite sides. So we had to look at each other as we were recovering, and that was always a real nice thing.
That's so cute. Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, guys, this has really, really been amazing. Steve, I wanted to ask Steve if the audience happened to chime in with any questions they may have had for either of you. I'm sure he would have actually probably put them up by now. There were many comments just like, "You guys are awesome. This is a great story." So know that everyone is really saying how great you guys are, as I knew it would be, So what I want to close with is that's somebody named Delia Lewis, and she's saying hello to you guys.
Yeah. Hey, Delia. She's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Diva. What I want to say is I would like you guys to just kind of close quickly with if you could give some good advice. You, Syrita, as a recipient, you, Rodney, as the donor. I don't know if there's anything, Syrita, that you feel you would change as far as you weren't sick, so it's not like you didn't know. Sometimes, some people will admit, I was having a few symptoms. I wasn't being proactive in my health like I should have been. I was allowing my job to pretty much rule my life and, whatever. So I'm not going to say if there was anything that you could have done in any way to prevent this from happening. But, I just wanted you guys to kind of share a little bit of advice for the audience.
My personal advice, again, is to always check your health. Go to the doctor, donate blood. When you donate blood, that's almost like a free checkup, really, because it does do your blood pressure. I think there are 2 or 3 other tests that they do when they check your blood. Always know your blood type so that you'll know if you're an A pos, I need an A pos, or I need an O to transplant me. Share your story. Talk to people, listen to what they've been through, and maybe that'll help you. I would also say, Bella, you mentioned earlier, but drink a ton of water just to clear toxins from the system. Even if you're not sick, water is very good for you.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Rodney, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would just like to say, first of all, you can live with 1 kidney.
That's right.
I have no limitations. I have no dietary restrictions. I still ride the bicycle. I feel great. So I would hope people wouldn't be intimidated from donating. Basically, God blessed us so that this kidney that I have left does enough work that the 2 kidneys did. And so it works. Kidney donation works. You can have a healthy life after donating, and share your life. Share your life.
Yeah. And then we can't forget to trust in God. Trust in God. Trust in God. Worship God. Believe in God.
First and foremost. That's right. That's right. That is so true, because He is the orchestrator of how we're going to, how this is going to flow. I mean, He can definitely, He didn't say the storms wouldn't come, but what He did say is He would see us through them. So
my mother always says, He has our calendar date. So
that's right. That's
COVID
right.
Or not.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
One last thing, if I could say this for your audience, Bella, you are going on 16 years. We're at 10 years. It's really amazing how God still blesses you after the transplant because of the ongoing need for money for medicines, doctor's appointments, discussions with insurance, discussions with pharmacists. And so I just want to say congratulations to both of you for being very compliant.
Yep.
Thank you.
You would not have the longevity of 16 years and 10 years. And I know the audience doesn't really understand the amount of medicine you all take. But it is a lot. And what I didn't know at the time, basically you had kidney disease even after your transplant. And as a result, you are required to do some things. You have to do follow-ups. You have to get, how many times have you had blood taken, please? So, just be compliant, and that will always make your donor know how blessed you are.
Exactly. Thank you for that. That is so true, Rodney. I mean, thank you for the part about, yes, until you have actually received that transplant, it is not only the transplant being an extremely great expense, but the medications, and without medical benefits, oh my God, it would be at well over $3,000 out of pocket per month. I already know, because I did the homework on it. And just like I said, God orchestrated this with you in regard to being with 5 Points so that you could learn. I have no doubt that this is my place where He wants me to be, to help get this out there. And thank God that I am retired and I can still afford my medications and and my tests, right? We have to get labs every 4 months.
Yep.
Labs are expensive. So it's just a blessing, guys. And you guys are such a blessing. Wow. You guys have really set people on fire with your love and your dedication to one another. And it's just so refreshing to me to be able to just witness you, even though it's virtually, but I know you guys anyway, like I said. So I was and prayerfully, when this pandemic has subsided a great deal, I'm really praying that we will all be right back in our TGH volunteer zone, where we all were thriving and could enjoy, seeing each other more regularly. So again, congratulations on your 36 years and your 10-year transplant. Rodney, you rock, brother. Just, again, the whole thing going on there. Keep it up.
Thanks, Bella.
Thank you guys so much. I love you guys. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. Oh, my God. Woo! I'm going to have to come down from that one. I mean, that just really, if you're not married, some people don't want to get married, and that's okay. But if you are looking to do that, oh man, talk about some couple goals right there. Just praying for God to send you that kind of Boaz that's got your back. And that's just such a blessing. I mean, and their story is yet more proof that we never know what situation our health may be in from day to day. From one day to the next, guys, we have no idea. We don't. So it's really important that we be proactive in our health so that we don't crash and burn, so that we can try to prevent, you guys can prevent these things from happening to you. Like Syrita said, and I've said many times, and we all say on every show, be proactive, get your health checked out, and do everything that you can to try to be good to this one body that we get, this only one body. And so I'm going to end this with a scripture like I always do, and it's going to be real simple and everybody's heard it. It's from Mark chapter 10, verse 9. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. Bam. Everybody be blessed. I love y'all. God loves you, and have a good night. See you next time.
I've been walking beneath streetlights. I've been walking, cause I can't find peace on these nights. I've been walking, but my strides are getting slower. Still I'm walking, but I don't know where I'm going. I've been looking for love, but only found deception. Told my secrets to some people who I don't want money. I don't want cars. I don't want money. I don't want cars. You are, the time the best is too fast. The truth, wrapped up in excuses. You are the weeds that pull their groove back. The strings upon my heart, but you know that. Cause you pull them, yes you pull them till I cry out.